Thanks to the amazing folks over at Ameda City through the Predecessor Creators Guild, I've been given an opportunity to take a first look at Predecessor's upcoming patch, patch 1.4. This patch is absolutely massive and has some changes for every single hero in the game. It's also going to bring us our next Predecessor hero, Boris, who's going to be charging his way into Sanctuary. We got a lot to cover in this patch, so let's get to it. The new hero charging his way into Sanctuary in Predecessor Patch 1.4 is none other than Boris. Meant to be played in the jungle or the off lane, Boris's passive ability is called Tesseract Device. Every second basic attack on hit against heroes and monsters grants Boris a canister for 5 seconds, stacking up to a max of 4 canisters. Each of these canisters is going to grant Boris 6% attack speed, as well as some additional damage and healing on hit. At max canisters, Boris will begin to zap enemies on hit, unleashing the full potential of the Tesseract core. He will also have an elevated amount of healing for those on hits. Boris' alternate ability, Chrono Swipe, is an amazing gap closer, where Boris will dash forward, swiping at all enemies in his path twice, each hit doing physical damage and applying on-hit effects. Boris' primary ability is Detection Protocol. With this ability, Boris sniffs the air, marking a nearby enemy hero and generating a trail to their location for the next 7 seconds. While moving along the trail, Boris has significantly increased movement speed. When dealing damage to the enemy hero that's been marked by Detection Protocol, Boris will slow the target by 35% and generating 1 core for the Tesseract device. And don't worry, if you can't make it to the hero or if no hero is found, 40% of the cooldown will be refunded for you to use that again as soon as possible. Boris' secondary ability is Primeval Roar. With this ability, Boris generates a defensive barrier around him, gaining some damage reduction for 2.5 seconds. After the duration of the roar, Boris can explode this barrier for damage, as well as fearing the enemies around him for half a second to 1.25 seconds, depending on how long you held the ability. This ability can be manually detonated by you after half a second. Finally, Boris' ultimate ability is Ursine Burst. This amazing ability allows Boris to dash at an enemy, taking them up into the air and suplex slamming them down onto the ground of Sanctuary, dealing damage as well as the target's bonus health damage, and applying a slow for the next 1.25 seconds. Boris can even take flying heroes out of the air and slam them back down onto the ground with this ability. Now let's see some of those abilities live action. Playing with Boris is all about closing the gaps. You can activate your Detection Protocol to get a trail and some significant movement speed to the closest enemy ally. Use your Chrono Swipe to close that distance and gain 1 core on your Tesseract core. As you continue attacking, you can activate your Primeval Roar for a shield and fearing your enemy, and when things get really dirty, you can take your enemies to the sky, suplex them back down, dealing some significant damage.